Gang, it's the Squatch Detective Steve Kulls here. Tonight's show sponsor is Coursera. If you're looking to level up your skills or explore a new field, Coursera has you covered. With more than 7,000 courses from top universities and companies, you can learn anything from data science to business, even psychology, at your own pace. Whether you're aiming to advance your career or just learning for fun, Coursera is the place to be. And the best part? Many courses are free to check out, and if you choose to opt for the monthly plan, you've got a 7-day free trial to see if it fits your needs. And for a limited time, you can save 40% off a year's subscription. Follow the link in the show description to start your new education today.
Welcome to Squatch-D where the truth is first before all else. Join your hosts, veteran investigator, TV personality, and author Steve Kulls, and from the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Project and the Kentucky Fried Fixes channel, Chris Bennett. Sit back and prepare to take yourself on a journey with the longest-running Bigfoot podcast, Squatch-D. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D for today's date, December 8th, 2024. I'm your host, your guide, the Squatch Detective Steve Kulls, along with my co-host with the most, right down there, Mr. Chris Bennett. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Steve, man, it's good to see you.
Hang on. I'm getting a knock at the door. It's the office assistant because he was off.
Well, let him in.
Come on.
Yeah, come on in here.
All right, the office assistant is now in position.
Yeah, you can't leave him out now. But, I heard you guys got some snow up there. I know we got some snow Monday, which lasted about 2 minutes. But we did get some white stuff on the ground.
Yeah, we're getting flurries here, flurries there. Of course, now that the cold snap has stopped, we're back to rain. So we get a little rain tonight. We're getting a little rain tomorrow. And all that snow that accumulated up, it'll probably be gone by the end of the week. So
yeah, slushies.
Seems to be the weather from New York. We have these hot and cold spells, and when it's cold, it snows, and then we get the warm spell, and it takes all the snow away. Yeah. And, that's what the office assistant gets for missing curtain call. Will you knock it off over there? He's over there doing something silly.
He's probably waiting for his treat.
No, we don't say that word. Okay, so here we are. Just a couple of weeks away from Christmas, 2.5 weeks, and it's Christmas.
Yeah, I'm just now getting over Thanksgiving, and pretty soon we're going to be having another turkey coming up for Christmas.
Yep.
I don't know what I'm not complaining, just reporting.
I have no idea what they actually I'm having for Christmas dinner. I haven't even figured it out yet. I know I'm not doing another turkey.
Well, 69 cents a pound, dude. I'm going to eat that turkey.
Nothing says Yuletide like a Christmas pizza.
Yeah, that's good too. What was it? I think on A Christmas Story, they went out after the dog ate the turkey. They went out to the Chinese restaurant
for Chinese turkey.
Yeah,
it's smiling at me.
Classic. Yeah, the duck. I remember that. Oh my God, that's such a good movie.
Anyway, let's get to roll call. We got a lot to cover tonight, and boy, this is going to be a sizzler tonight.
Wow, the chat is hopping. Look at all those people. Hey, guys. Good to see you.
And here we go. Okay, first in tonight was Relic Hominin, who said, have a great show. Great topic, by the way. It's getting very hard to know who to trust out there. In the world of Bigfoot. Are you? Walter Kroll next in. Happy Sunday. What?
You missed Pat Collins. Pat Collins was up there.
Oh, there he is. Yes, there is Pat Collins. He was the first in.
Yeah, that's right. Don't want to shortchange Pat there.
So then we have Sharon. Hello, and she'll be checking us out tomorrow. Pete H. Good to see you, Pete. Mitch Hargrove. Good to see you, brother. Karen Fisher. Hello. I don't know who YouTube user is. Well, hello.
Welcome.
Sandra Piper. Hello. Jen, what's going on? And of course, Baron is probably hiding around her too. That's her office assistant. Mick Siphon. Hello. Good old Mick. Jen. There's Jen again. Sandra. Angel Nolan, hello, Angel. Good to see you. Ristel, hello. Jay Charlotte, what's up, brother? Danny Weeks, what's going on?
Danny, I'm lost. Okay, wait a minute now.
Chat's
There
hot.
we go.
Ron Meldrum, and there's Nikki,
Ron?
Sasquatch Secrets. Good to see you, Nikki. Marty McTighe, good to see you, Martin.
Marty?
The Susie Monster is in the house. Beatron, the Beatron also. Jennifer Arnold. Hello, Jennifer. She's a member here. Hello, good to see you. Who else? We got Just Steve. Hello, Just Steve. David Parker, what's going on? Western Bigfoot Exploration. And I think he made a comment on this cat's channel too. So we'll be talking about that as well. Jay Carey, good to see you, Jay. And who else we got going on here?
I think I saw Roy Longley in there somewhere. Roy,
good to see you, Roy. Kathy Zabrowski, good to see you. Unidentified Arkansas Phenomenon, hello, good to see you. Welcome on board. First time here, just pull up a chair, get your favorite beverage, get yourself a snack, and off we go to the truth about the Bigfoot mystery. And for those out there on our audio portions, iHeartRadio, SiriusXM, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Radio Public, Pandora, Deezer, and of course, SiriusXM Radio. Hello, and you're going to want to come over to the YouTube channel. Check out our graphics tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And Matt, Central Florida, Bigfoot just popped in and said hello. So tonight,
Curious Cryptid Steve.
Oh, he popped in too. There, wow.
I got lost a while ago. So if we missed anybody, it's not because we don't love you.
Right. It's very rare I get lost. And of course, when we call somebody out, it usually brings in a lot of people. And I'm going to tell you,
Matt is Central Kentucky Bigfoot now.
Oh, look at Central Kentucky Bigfoot.
That's good.
Well, I got to say this. It's not very often that I get inundated with a number of messages, emails saying, hey, you got to check this dude out.
Yeah.
There is something seriously wrong here. And we'll get into some of the specifics on that at the end of the video.
Grasshopper.
I saw the Jets lost another one today. Ooh. So, when we see this kind of behavior, it's like, I got to check this guy out. And I was like, wow, yeah, this is a guy, and we're going to get into it a little bit, he runs a channel called Cabin in the Woods channel on YouTube. And he's actually had a couple of videos. One was on Bigfoot videos, which I really didn't pay much attention to. The second one, though, is the one that people are, clamoring about. It's titled Bigfoot Proof, Undeniable DNA, Mainstream Science Ignored. And it is, a lot of people would say at first, well, maybe this is just misinformation. Maybe this is just, a guy making a mistake. Maybe he's just uneducated about this. And he runs this channel, and it's got about 14,000 subscribers. And not too bad, not too shabby. But the fact is the reason why people are clamoring is because of the ridiculousness of some of the claims he's made on this. And specifically, it centers around the Melba Ketchum study. And you want to go, now, this is the problem I have with the Melbites, is that, and this guy, for all intents and purposes, is not a Bigfoot guy. He's not he's only had a couple of videos about Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
It's called I just had it, actually. I said it earlier. So if you don't catch it on the first time, I'm sorry. It's Cabin in the Woods channel. Cabin in the Woods. And okay, and I can appreciate him having a cabin in the woods and wanting to do a video on Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But damn it, let's be honest about it. Right? All right, and I get that. Okay. So defenders of him will say, well, Steve, geez, the guy isn't a Bigfoot guy. Give him a little bit of slack. Give him a little bit of slack. He's, he may just be misunderstanding some things. I don't think this is the case at all in this particular matter. And like I said, he centers this around the Melba Ketchum DNA study and a few other things as well. He tries to the Scott Nelson. I think he alludes to Scott Nelson a bit. And Chris, you've had an opportunity to watch this video, and let me just ask you this: do you think he is intentionally lying, or do you think he's just being ignorant?
Well, I don't know. It's a lot of exaggerations from a lot of people. A lot of these statements that were supposedly made weren't made. And so that's difficult to believe that that's a mistake.
Right, exactly. And let's get into some of the claims that he makes on his video. We won't be showing the video. I just don't want any YouTube issues with this dude, even though we could claim fair use.
Well, we're talking about it.
Yeah, we're talking about it. His graphics say it all, and we use some of the graphics under fair use to take a look. Now, the first thing is he quotes Melba Ketchum using a stock picture of Melba Ketchum. And mind you, none of the pictures we're showing today are his.
No.
These are stuff that anybody can gather off the web. So nothing is exclusive to him. And, he lists, and this is where it starts, Dr. Melba Ketchum, geneticist. She's not a geneticist, right? Let's make that very clear. She's a veterinarian.
Right.
Veterinarian. So that is number one. And she has been she was always proud of the fact that she could testify in court. And then she ended up getting banned from testifying because of, professional malfeasance, basically neglect and, malfeasance. So the Texas Board of Scientific Commission there for the courts kicked her out. So nope. See ya.
I think the whole deal was she was not certified to testify in that county
and again, she cherry picked how she talked about evidence and did not necessarily give the whole picture of everything.
Right.
In other words, the stuff that could have been exculpatory in a trial for the defense was left out.
Right. So. And we supposed to, when we raise our hand, we're supposed to say, I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth, yeah, and nothing but the truth.
And not half the truth.
Right. That second part about the whole truth is really important.
Right. All right, here we go. So he makes this quote about Dr. Haskell Hart. And it says, while the journal's origins raise questions, the mitochondrial DNA results in the study appear to be scientifically valid. And that's true. He's a scientist with genetic experience. Excuse me. But that's not true at all. Hang on.
So we got Dr. Haskell Hart is coming out,
right,
and cheerleading for Melba's.
Right. And we all know that in truth, Dr. Haskell Hart has,
Dr. Hart's been on the show several times.
Has surgically diced the Ketchum study as being totally bad. And including, we have a couple of shorts up there, plus our couple of times we've had interviews with him on the channel. So check those out. We have one short where Dr. Hurt talks about Ketchum using the wrong primer. And then we have another video about Dr. Haskell Hart talks about Ketchum's misinterpreted phyllo trees.
Right. Yeah. So I don't think right.
I
don't think he said this. Oh no!
Oh,
If you're in the chat, Dr. Hart, let us know.
So YouTube user asks us, still no on Scott Nelson, even though that's kind of an off-topic question. And the answer to that is no. You cannot have any scientific outlay just using one sample. He used samples from one source. Now, if he says, oh, and I've looked at this one, and I've looked at this one, and I've looked at that one, and I've looked at that one, and this is what it comes out to be, then I'd be more apt to say, hey, that's interesting. Am I saying it's junk? No, but I'm saying it's not valid scientifically because it only has one source for the material. You need to have multiple sources. Let's be realists. Listen, nobody in the room here wants Bigfoot to be validated more than I do. Let me make that very clear, right? I would love somebody, but we always have these people that make a big to-do and they fall short of the goal line. In Melba's Melba's instant, she moved the goalpost a little bit to try to say, oh, well, we've set out what we've done. By buying your own journal, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that's not what you set out to do, right? So, you settled. So when you settle, then that invalidates any kind of scientific, adherence out there. So again, still no on Scott Nelson's theories, based upon that he's only using one source for his theories. You got to have multiple sources, right? The evaluation of just the Sierra sounds alone is not enough to do that. Nothing against Scott Nelson in that particular. I don't think he's falsifying anything. I think he truly believes they have a language, but in order to prove it, you need more sources. That's simple as that.
Need more audio samples of that language.
So take my comments on the Scott Nelson analysis, which, by the way, I did include in what would Sasquatch do, right? I didn't ever rule it out, but I'm saying it's not good enough. So take it as constructive criticism, not as bashing. So
right.
take it at that. But getting back to obviously Haskell Hart definitely did not say this, so definitely a lie. Now he's got a quote on Dr. Jeff Meldrum. Data presented in the Ketchum study demands further investigation. It cannot be dismissed outright simply because of the unconventional publication method. Don't recall Dr. Meldrum ever saying that. In fact, I think Dr. Meldrum actually kind of raised an eyebrow to that, right? And then again, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, was critical of Melba Ketchum DNA study, like the many of the scientific community questioned the methodology and findings of the study, which claimed Bigfoot was a hybrid of humans. Meldrum pointed out many key concerns, such as the lack of transparency in Ketchum's peer review process, which was conducted through a journal she herself acquired. So there, he said that completely opposite to what this statement is saying here, right? Right. So there is another head. Yeah,
that's those two don't match up, do they?
Right. No, not at all. Complete opposites. Right. And you know what? This is web research here, and below that is some chowderhead claiming that this comment was made that we've already seen in the previous one was not true. All right. So we're getting there. We're getting there. And the last one we saved for last is going to outright show our evidence tonight. So then we have the level of sequencing and the attention to proper chain of custody protocols in this study were remarkable. Repeated anomalies in the nuclear DNA cannot simply be dismissed as contaminated or Dr. Irina Scott, scientist, and in parentheses, he puts genetics. Wrong! She's a veterinarian, and I spelled veterinarian wrong because I was in a hurry.
She's a vet.
Yep. An American author and physiologist. She received a BS from Ohio State University, an MS from the university, and a PhD from the University of Maryland in the Department of Veterinarian Medicine. Right? So she is another veterinarian, but I doubt very much she even said this at this point.
I don't think so either, because the only thing I've seen about Dr. Irina Scott was that she's been on a lot of UFO podcasts,
Mhm.
and she talks about the UFOs and alien abductions and things like that. She may have been on a Bigfoot podcast at one time, though. I'm not saying she hasn't.
Right.
She's definitely not a geneticist.
Another quote from Igor Burtsev. Protocols described in the study demonstrate a high level of care consistent with forensic DNA analysis standards. The result deserves a more serious consideration, not dismissal based on speculative contamination claims. Well, number one, Igor is Russian, so that does Gesundheit. Oh my goodness, Chris is having an episode here.
Well, I'm willing to believe that he did say this. I'm willing to believe that.
Yeah,
I don't recall.
but even so, I think his the finesse, right? Number one, he's Russian, so he doesn't speak English very well. He does not speak English very well.
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
And this sounds very elaborate for an English comment, unless he made it in Russian. It was trans. But let's take a look. This is the same Igor Burtsev that got a phone call from Bigfoot.
Yes.
The same Igor Burtsev that said, here are pictures of Grisha, the Russian Bigfoot, driving a car and driving a tractor.
Driving a car and a tractor, yes.
Right. And not to mention, he is not Dr. Igor Burtsev. He only has a master's in anthropology, not a PhD. So he's not a doctor. Okay. And cryptozoologist, that's a self-anointed title.
Yeah.
Right. So why is that even there? Well, like it bears some weight. Oh, and cryptozoologist.
Well, he may have said this, and I firmly would believe he would say something like that. Maybe not that eloquent, but the thought of this being, he's going to say that this DNA study is real, whether it is or not, because look, we've got Bigfoot driving cars, we've got Bigfoot driving tractors, making phone calls. So that falls right in. Oh yeah.
Everybody's saying it's pronounced Igor. Well, I'm calling it Igor. I don't care. I'm a New Yorker. I say things the way I say it.
Well, if you're in Russia, maybe Igor. We're not though. If he was in Kentucky, we would call him Iggy. Hey, Iggy, what's going on, man?
What wasn't Igor?
Yeah. I know where you're going with that, but it's
Young Frankenstein.
I think that's right. I think that was Young Frankenstein.
It's not Igor. It's Igor.
Igor. That's right. Yep.
So that's why everybody's saying that Igor.
He has Bigfoot on speed dial.
It took me a second to get that. It's pronounced Igor. I'm like, sounds like Young Frankenstein. Oh, it is. Never mind.
Yes, Young Frankenstein. That's right.
Sorry, it was a busy work week this week. I worked 6 days and I worked overtime and I worked a double. And so I'm a little slow today.
Well, if he comes to Kentucky, I'm going to call him Iggy. Hey, Iggy, what's going on, man?
That's right. Just Steve says, I'm a cryptozoologist. Hey, we're all cryptozoologists. I anoint thee, cryptozoologists.
Yes. But, it's... Igor's a nice guy, I'm sure, but to me, he seems a little bit gullible. He spent a lot of time with.
There is no malice here. Even with Ketchum, there's no malice. It's like, listen, you're bullshitting people, and that's just, I can Ketchum not so much, but this guy not so much either. But like Igor. Yeah, and I don't think there's anything intentional on his part. I don't think he's like out to me. It's just, listen, this guy is like, how would I say it? It's like, well, back in the day when Sylvia Brown was still alive, that psychic that got called out so many times, they were like, well, I'm not getting into my house because Sylvia Brown told me not to. I start questioning, your kind of rationale. You know what I mean?
Well, he spent a lot of time with that lady in Tennessee, and I can't think of her name off the top of my head.
McCoy. Janice McCoy.
Janice. Okay. Yes.
Janice Carter. I'm sorry, Janice Carter.
Janice Carter. He spent a lot of time with her, and yet, admittedly, he never saw any of the Bigfoot creatures.
But he believes her.
He was still convinced. Yes, he was still convinced.
So, as a scientist, you can tell his scientific method is right out the window there because, as a scientist, it'd be like, I wouldn't believe, well, I believe her. I wouldn't say that and go on to talk about, how Sasquatch were doing stuff on the property when he's never seen any advice of it. Right. As a scientist, that's where I leave it. Listen, I believe her, but we didn't see any evidence of anything like that. And I would leave it at that.
As a scientist, right. As a scientist, you've got to be from Missouri. Show me.
Oh, the Howler just showed up in chat. And Grasshopper as well. We want to acknowledge Grasshopper.
Grasshopper.
And the Tackle Tactician.
Hey, Tack. Representing. Good to see the part of the Kentucky crew in here. Now we got a new one. Matt from Central Florida Bigfoot is here in Kentucky. He's now Matt from Central Kentucky Bigfoot.
Okay, on to the next slide. Here we go. Finally, and this is and we'll talk more about this in a second, and this is programs. Finally, we have Chris Spencer, audio technician, who is the audio guy, one of the audio guys for the Olympic project. And it's quoted as, what stands out is the dynamic range and power of these vocalizations. They exceed what any known animal in these areas can produce, and their repetitive nature suggests an intentional attempt to communicate. Right? So here's the interesting factoid. He was one of the people that reached out to me.
Oh, hey, that's Steve. Great. Yeah.
Hey, Steve, saw you were doing a show on the Cabin in the Woods guy. He blatantly lied about me reviewing audio. I never reviewed, then made up a quote I never said. Not sure if you were aware of it. Oh. And he did call him out right on his channel. And there's the comment right there. I don't know where you're getting your information, but you quoted me saying something I've never said. Around the 14:55 minute mark, you play an audio clip I said for years was a coyote warning location call. Then you quote me saying something I didn't say. WTF.
Yeah.
Of course, there's been no response to that as well.
And was it another comment also deleted?
Yes. There is another gentleman who was making some comments like, listen, you're misquoting people. And he deleted that comment. It's very apparent this guy is a liar.
Oh,
obviously there it is. There's your proof right there. The guy is lying right blatantly. And that pisses me off. To be blunt, I'm sorry for the abrupt language and the non-scientific language. Yeah, absolutely, Jen. Go right ahead. No, make it a super official cryptozoologist. Elevate yourself. Elevate. So,
super califragilistic
supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Some people say it's quite long, but it's really quite atrocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I'm sorry. Anyway.
Oh man. But yeah, that's pretty bad there. I mean, when Chris contacts you and says, "Hey, man,
right?
I didn't say that. What's going on?" Right. So what I think what we've got here is a little literary. What do you call this? I would say that would be fiction.
Right.
He's not reporting what people have quoted. He is just making up the quotes. What best suits him. That's not right.
It's horrible.
Not supposed to be there. Right.
Horrible. And then there's some other quotes, and you brought up the Smeha quote. So, Chris, if you want to elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, yeah, he left out a lot of stuff in the video, and one of the things was the Smeha sample. In the DNA study, there was a Bigfoot steak. It was the one that was a big chunk of meat with hair and stuff on it. But Ketchum tested that, and she said is definitive Bigfoot. It was guaranteed. It was Bigfoot. Okay. Now, Brian Sykes, Dr. Brian Sykes,
The late Dr. Brian Sykes.
rest his soul, yes. He had done some testing on Smeha's boot. There was supposedly blood sample from the small creature on that boot, and he was unable to obtain any DNA from that boot. So that was a bust. But unbeknownst to Dr. Ketchum, Bart Coutinho took another sample of the Bigfoot steak, which Smeha still had part of, and had it independently tested, and it came back 100% positive black bear. And he never mentioned any of that.
Correct.
That blows Ketchum's study out of the water. Now, there's also a report, and I haven't seen this, guys, so you have to. It's supposed to be on YouTube somewhere. I looked for it earlier, I couldn't find it, but there's supposed to be a telephone conversation between Justin Smeha and Melba Ketchum. And Melba Ketchum, this is supposedly reported that Melba Ketchum was telling Smeha he needs to destroy the remaining sample he has with bleach because she doesn't want any other samples getting out that would not jive with what her sample says. So that may be worth looking into. If you guys can do some YouTube searches later on, you might be able to find something. I'm going to, but I couldn't find anything before the show. But now that is the report. Rumor control.
So, the book by Brian Sykes.
Yes.
And this is what he writes, and I'm going to read a couple of select chapters on that. But in the Bigfoot world, though, in recent cases aroused more controversy than the Sierra Kill. Not only is it the account gripping in of itself, it had also stoked the embers of a long-running argument surrounding the deliberate killing of Bigfoot. As soon as I heard about the Sierra Kill, I knew this was a most important case to put through the rigors of genetic analysis. So,
now see, I was looking at the study that he did, and two of the samples that Dr. Sykes had tested. And let me look. I don't want to say wrong, but it was they were from California, USA. Sample 25104 and sample 25106. Both samples were found to be American black bear. But now I do not know. It doesn't say was this.
So here we go. As Justin finished telling me his story, he produced a small envelope, and it was a silver skin about 1 inch long and 1/4 wide, bone dry now, but still with plenty of short, almost blonde hairs attached to it. This was all that remained of the steak, and he handed it over to my care. Justin told me he had stored the steak in salt to preserve it, hoping this would not have harmed the DNA. On the contrary, I was able to reassure him it would have helped. Salt preservation is one of the most reasons why DNA from Egyptian mummies survives so well. I immediately put the steak in the envelope into an evidence bag. He also produced his hunting boot. Right. The one that had been splattered with blood when he killed the giant dying juvenile. Yeah. At first, I was reluctant to accept the boot for DNA testing, as it was unlike hair, which I knew I could clean up before the analysis. The blood in the boot was bound to be highly contaminated. But I also realized that the connection between the blood in the boot and the dying Bigfoot was so much more solid than it was with the steak, which had been recovered weeks later and may have nothing to do with the creature that Justin had just killed. Luckily, I carried a scalpel in my sampling bag, and with Justin's help to identify the exact spot where the blood had landed on the boot, I cut a sliver from the surface and placed it in another evidence bag. So there you have it. So he had samples from both.
He had the steak and the boot. Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Gotcha. Right. Well, both samples were black bear.
That's why you saw me dip out for a second to grab that book. I said, I know there's the exact passages of what
Right,
Sykes
but
said.
on the TV show where he was given the revealing the results to Justin, he said he wasn't able to obtain any DNA from the boot. So the samples he might have been discussing in that study, those I just called off the numbers a minute ago. That was probably the steak and the hair from it, more than likely.
Right. Correct.
Both black bear.
Both black bear.
Now that
and I will say this: my insiders from the Ketchum study, for months previous to the Sykes and Bart Cretino also sending out samples to an anonymous lab.
Yes.
Had the people within the Ketchum study before that all happened said that, Ketchum has looked at this. It's going to be good. It confirms that Smeha actually did drop a Bigfoot or two on that day. And then they were crushed. Yeah. And of course, I'm not sure if even the Smeha sample was included in the Ketchum study. I think it was excluded. And when she came out with her paper. Mm. Right.
Right. And that was likely due to this.
Well, Smeha called her out, said she's a liar.
Right.
Which kind of leads me to suspect, and there's a lot of controversy over Smeha, whether or not he was telling the truth or not. Probably not, but it's kind of really bizarre because why would he send out a secondary sample to say, hey, Ketchum's not getting me my results. I want this tested by somebody else. Right? So it's kind of weird that if you look at, there's a lot of contradictions within the Smeha case. There are some inconsistencies in the stories he told.
Right.
But I look at it that way, that when he first told the story, it was a much watered down story. Actually, the horrific way it actually happened. Think about interviews of killers and stuff like that. They try to, and this is very similar. There is no psychological difference. You shot something that walked on two legs. You killed a juvenile, right? Your propensity for not telling the entire truth at first, right, becomes, so is his inconsistent stories due to it being an outright hoax? I don't think so. And that's my own opinion, because you water it down. His actions afterwards proved to me that he was trying to figure out what was killed. Now, the alternate story is he might have come across these things and thought it may have been a Bigfoot, and that's why he put it out there. And then he came up with this cockamamie story to begin with. Right. So there is that possibility too.
But when he was on the $10 million Bigfoot bounty show, okay, we got the creative story about choking out the.
Right. Well, is it creative? Because that was horrific. Yeah, right. That was horrific. Right. So if it's that bad when you're first coming out saying, hey, listen, this is what happened.
Right.
Would you really want to tell that story to everybody? Because everybody would hate you out. Because everybody at that point was so angry at Smeha for killing a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to water this down. I'm not going to talk about choking out the juvenile.
Okay.
Right.
That's possible. That's
right.
possible.
And that's why I'm getting to that. It's like why you have a lot of killers say, well, the gun went off by accident, or I was in self-defense, right? Or, in the case of, the type of assaults, it was consensual when it really wasn't, right? Yeah. So there's always these lines to minimize the moral implication of what one does. Yeah. So as an interrogator,
yeah, I imagine you see a lot of that.
I have a lot of, even in some of the thieves I've caught, oh, well, I forgot about it. It was completely by accident, blah, 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 right? Yeah. They're trying to minimize that moral implication. So what ends up happening is as an interrogator, we're stuck in, we have this admission that he did this deed, And of course, he lessens them. So to me, it progresses like a truthful experience. But the alternative story is he could have just come across those things thinking it was Bigfoot. Now let me put it through the test. And that would be, and I'll come up with this story. But so it's like really, the reason why a lot of people want to call Smeha a liar or a hoaxer is they just don't personally like him. He is a tough guy to like for some people, and I get that. But as an investigator, I never look at whether I like somebody or not when it comes down to breaking down interviews. So that's the conundrum we have there.
Well, I don't really judge people on their personality, whether they're truthful or not. It makes no difference to me whatsoever. But when somebody looks at me in the face and says that the small Bigfoot, maybe Bigfoot looked like a boxer dog in the face, I know they're lying.
Well, a lot of people say that Bigfoot has a flat nose, right? So who knows what they look like when they develop, really? I mean, I didn't get a good look at the face of my juvenile running away. It was profile. But again, we have to, some of the descriptions may have sounded off, but then again, you also have to look in context of there was people that used to call Bigfoot bear men before, great apes were discovered. It stands up tall, it looks like a bear, but it's kind of, and does a Bigfoot look like a bear? Woo! It's getting hot under that lid under these lights, I'll tell you that much.
Lori's coming out. She said, I think Smeha got played. Maybe the government replaced samples because literally this guy was scared and upset he wasn't faking.
Okay, so how did the government replace the samples? Government. Listen, I'm not one to believe in government conspiracies. That when it comes to Bigfoot, because there's no national security interest in it. Yep.
Okay. Conspiracy theory number 1. They could have flown in those dead Bigfoot bodies from Mount St. Helens and swapped those out with bears.
Right.
Possible.
No, I don't think Smeha got played at all. He was there. He had blood on the boot.
It's possible a ranger found the Bigfoot bodies and replaced them with black bears.
Right. And again, Western Bigfoot Exploration said Sykes couldn't extract DNA from the boot. He just told Dustin, So yeah, you know what? And people have squawked about the credibility and the accuracy of lie detector tests because they're not always 100% accurate. But he did take a lie detector test too.
He did left. He left and went back, and I think he was gone for like two weeks or something. What was that? Was it 2 weeks? I think it was 2 weeks.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if the government, why would they replace it with bare bones? They would just take it.
Yeah, more likely.
There's no evidence to suggest that. So, Lori, I appreciate the idea. It's an idea, but it's out in left field because there's no evidence to support any of that. So I stick to the evidence. And, Smeha himself never suggested that the government replaced it. I doubt they would have just took the bones. And so they came back and found nothing, right?
Yeah.
And then again, if the government showed up, they would have to be pretty sure to get every single bone too. Because we're talking about a corpse. We're not talking about just one. And that kind of leads me to suspect that the actual carcass itself was predated on and got scattered.
Yes.
Otherwise, there would have been a lot more than just a few little bone samples or a steak or anything like that.
But, at the time, though, I think there was snow in the area. They had to dig.
So, Pancho Zorch, let me ask you a question. What national security risk does a Bigfoot make? What's the national security risk on a Bigfoot?
I don't know. If anything.
Now, if you ask me, if you ask me, does the government intentionally ignore Bigfoot reports? Do they play it down intentionally? Do they wipe up tracks too intentionally? Absolutely. You know why? Because they don't want people like Smeha running around in their national parks with guns.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I think happened with that police officer in the trail and that dash cam footage. The sheriff came out a few days later and says, oh, well, I talked to the kids. Now it was college kids with a suit, but he never provided a picture of the suit. He never provided any names or addresses of the people that were responsible for it. And there was no police investigation actually done, no police report actually done. Right. So that was just a case of, I don't want these crazy people with guns running around my county. Because that's when we look at the legend of Boggy Creek, for example. You know, remember the big scene with all the hunters and the guns and the dogs and everything. And that's what every rural sheriff thinks is going to happen if somebody sees a Bigfoot in their county. That's what a lot of the ignorant, like there are park rangers that will say, yeah, you know, we had a Bigfoot sighting over here or over here or over there. There are state officials around the country that work in fish and game that say, yeah, we've had a Bigfoot sighting here and there. And then there's opposite. So I think it depends on their supervisors and what they want them to do with that.
Right.
So I don't think
a lot of times in the state parks and national parks.
And Pancho, I love you, brother, but that is not an argument to what you just said. You know, it covers up what issue? You know, if you're not going to be specific, you know, that's part of the problem we have with the Bigfoot community. You know, if you have something to say, then say it, but have some reason for saying it.
Well, you know,
not just an opinion. Let's have some facts. Let's have some.
That's a fact. That's a fact. The government does cover up things.
Agreed.
Like they did cover up Roswell, and we're going to say
that's not. But Roswell, not a lesser issue.
Yes, I know, but we're talking about they lied, admittedly, to the American public. They lied. They said that it was a weather balloon, when in fact, even if it was, when in fact it was Project Mogul, which was considerably more than a weather balloon. Okay,
right.
So they did lie to the American public. What they showed in the office down there was not what was recovered at the crash site. So they did lie. Now, that doesn't mean that UFOs or a UFO or alien bodies was recovered. Doesn't mean that. But what it does mean for a fact is we know the U.S. government did lie to the American people. Which
okay, now see, Pancho wants to start arguing, and that's fine. My opinion of David Paulides has no basis. It does, because I know people that have talked to the family of that guy that was missing up in Lily Pond. And they wanted nothing to do with TV shows after missing 411 because Paulides didn't care about the family. Right? It's a very simple case of a guy with hypothermia. 70% of those cases that he talks about is hypothermia. Right? Simple as that. Right?
Don been playing in the snow. Hey, Don.
Right. So, and we don't know that Bigfoot isn't an alien. All right. Put tinfoil hat on and fly away because unfortunately, Bigfoot's not an alien. Okay. That is something that has come up recently that it was never said in the, from the, you know.
Well, I don't know. You know, I've not seen any UFOs in the area where the Bigfoot.
Well, hold on. Stop right there. Let's think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Washington County, rural county, people see UFOs, people see Bigfoot. That doesn't mean they're related. Hell, I see geese. That doesn't mean geese and the UFOs are related. I see deer. I don't say the deer and the Bigfoot are related. We don't say the cows that are being experimented on and have cattle mutilations. We don't say they're aliens either. Right? Just because very few people, maybe less than a handful, said, well, I saw a Bigfoot come off a UFO. Okay, you're going to believe everybody, then that's fine.
Well, so far there's not been much evidence to suggest.
Now hold on. If that isn't an oxymoron, I have no idea what is.
Oh, that's good.
But no, we appreciate you, Poncho. Don't get me wrong, but you guys are surely entitled to believe what you want to believe, but don't try to preach it here to me, because a lot of it is hogwash. Like I said, I've been around a long time. I've been doing this for 4 decades now.
Well, I like the UFO stuff. That's good too, but I don't think it's related to Bigfoot. I've not seen anything that would relate to the two.
Right. Exactly. And again, we've talked about the reason why, a species without breeding. I mean, come on, let's face it. Why would a superior species drop a naked being in a plant with parasites and chiggers and ticks and fleas and mosquitoes and black flies and poison ivy, poison sumac?
It's like War of the Worlds.
Thorn bushes.
The native bacteria would pretty much work them over. It wouldn't take long. It's like War of the Worlds.
Right.
Okay.
And my knock is not on Polites personally. It's I see that and I see, take all these little, he has all these little factors. Well, you put in this factor and that factor. He tried to make this guy that disappeared in Schuylerville no more than 5 miles from me. He tried to make that out as part of a missing 411 case. And the very simple case is that he went missing. He is suspected to be a victim of a homicide because he was a local politician for the longest time. So when you're a politician for a while, you can tick some people off, as we just saw tragically in New York City this week with the CEO of United Healthcare getting assassinated. Right? So, let's look at, is he beyond, as Steve says, is he beyond grifting? Well, he did get terminated from the LAPD for obtaining autographs from celebrities he was protecting and then turning around and selling them. So a lot of people don't remember that. But so he's not beyond being a little profiteering. Let me look at these strange facts, ignore the rest. And you know what? Science investigation does not cherry pick. Well, it shouldn't cherry pick. I can give you probably a couple of dozen cases in the criminal world, in the criminal investigation world, where certain investigators let feelings get involved and they end up cherry picking things, right? They believe this person's guilty and they're going to keep hammering him, and they have nothing to do with it. So that does happen. But then again, investigators are human too. So unless they tend, they're human, so they can get emotionally involved. They see a dead child, they see a dead, they get emotionally involved in different things as well. And then that kind of kills their unbiased sometimes.
Well, the Missing 411 series was pretty good. I enjoyed them, but they've got to be. They were made entertaining, which he put forth the facts, and if that's all he had done, it may have been kind of boring. But he put forth the facts in a way that maybe seems suggestive of something really weird happening, other than some person went missing because they were eaten by a bear or something. Right.
Well, if it's a very fine line now trying to get information. You can't trust your news. I get most of my information now, believe it or not, from YouTube. But you got to go to reliable sources on YouTube.
You got to go to the source, the source of the story. Right. You have to go to that video.
Mm-hmm. And listen,
don't believe what somebody's telling you about it. Right. See for yourself.
And again, can I blame Polites are missing 411. Again, I'm sure the production company had him sign some documentation. So for all we know, Polites, it may not have been him. You know, it may have been the production company. We've seen production companies do some horrible things over the years, right?
Well, you got to make a product that's going to be interesting, and it's got to have the mystery to make people watch it. And maybe they inject a little woo in there with it. Well, okay, that's entertainment.
Right. TV series are entertainment. You got to remember that.
Yeah, that's right.
And they got to have that wow factor, otherwise nobody's going to tune in for next week. And that's Alaska Killer Bigfoot was the topping. That was really the last show I watched, because at the end I said, watch, something's going to happen. And sure enough, the cabin's on fire. Okay, Bigfoot, the Alaskan Killer Bigfoot set their cabin on fire.
Well, those
and with that, I turned the page and I said, no more of these, crap shows.
Well, okay,
because you can't.
You got to just take it for what it is. It's entertainment. Right. It's like Mountain Monsters. I love the show Mountain Monsters, but it was entertainment.
Right. But getting back to this dude, this is exactly what he's doing. He's using that formula. I'm going to lie about this, lie about that, lie about this. I don't care if I'm misquoting people. I want to get my narrative out and make a very interesting story.
Yeah.
Right. But where he crosses that line is when he takes real people and lies about them. Right.
Yeah. If he's going to make up quotes, he needs to make up the people that he's attributing those made up quotes to.
Right. Right.
Dr. Jim Viederhosen says that Bigfoot is definitely real because,
because it knocked on my door and asked me for garlic.
If you're going to make up the quote, you got to make up the people too. Don't attribute a made up quote.
And we've seen that happen too. The Russian killer Yeti.
Yeah.
Remember that documentary, right?
Yeah, that's pretty
Another
good.
case of blatant outright lying, bringing in these actors to pose as doctors, putting out a phony picture, which is now circulating amongst the uneducated, saying, "Oh, look, this Dyatlov Pass. That was definitely a Bigfoot, a Bigfoot that killed everybody. Look, there's the picture they came out with. No, that picture was created for the TV show, for crying out loud.
Rascals made up a fake photo.
Hey, she MC. See, now we got some of the lurkers. Yep, that's right.
Oh man, those guys. But it draws people and it gets viewers when they do stuff like that.
Right.
Just like when they had the Bigfoot has been captured video or documentary. What was it? Bigfoot trapped, or we trapped Bigfoot. And I was getting
captured Bigfoot.
Captured Bigfoot. Yeah, I was getting phone calls while that was on. They got him, Chris. They got him. Turn the TV on. It's channel so and so. They got him. I'm like, no.
You want to know something funny? I mean, I've had some great jobs in my day, and at the time all these documentaries were coming out, I was working in the group home with at-risk youth. So they were like, Steve, there's this show on Discovery tonight about I forget which one it was. I think it was on the mermaid.
Mermaids, yeah.
Can we watch? Let's sit down. So I sat there with the all 6 kids, and we all sat there, and I was the only one on. We all sat there. We made some popcorn. We got beverages out. We all were drinking, sitting there watching popcorn, enjoying that. And they keep looking at me because they know what I do. And they're like, "What do you think? What do you think?" I get on my phone. I start Googling these people, and I'm like, "The guy's not a doctor."
Right.
And by the end, the kids were like, "Wow, like that's really cool how you figured that out really that quick."
Yeah.
And but yeah, they were like, "Well, what do you think?" And that's what I loved. That was probably one of the best jobs I've had because I inspired curiosity, science, history into those kids. Because at the time I was doing paranormal stuff as well. And, you know, whereas in this field, science is really, it's very science driven, right?
Yeah.
In paranormal, it's very history driven. What's the history of a property? What, and then it gets over to the science. Right? So, but what it did was, and my actual house manager wanted me to, we all used to do groups. We all used to have groups talk about, different topics and stuff. And they always wanted me to talk about, this kind of, cryptozoology or paranormal or stuff like that to the kids.
Right.
And wouldn't you know, I said, that's why, I would always teach them, hey, listen, that's why it's so important to keep your math skills, to keep your science skills, to keep your history up, because all that comes into play in these fun things. Yeah. Right. It's not so much always for work. Everybody goes, oh, I'm not going to be a scientist. I'm not going to be a college professor. Yeah. But you know what? You might want to investigate a Bigfoot sighting someday. You might want to go on a ghost hunt or something someday. Yeah, that'd be cool. And you got to know this stuff. Right. And, so that was really cool, giving them some influence in how to do that. And a lot of their grades came up because of it. So I'm much proud to say. And forever, you believe it or not, a few of those kids still are friends with me today. They'll send me a letter every once in a while and stuff like that.
Good.
And, check up on how I'm doing, and I'll turn around and check up on how they're doing. And a lot of them are doing very well. So that's excellent. So, but,
well, I think it's good that they found something they were interested in, and it's actually something that they could help, learn. Science is a good subject. I mean, we need more kids interested in science.
Yeah, and luckily I was, I had a little bit of influences that there's more to the world than just being a rap star or a mechanic or whatever other but all right, crew, let's get off the political stuff.
Yep, no politics. No politics.
But yeah, again, there is no way this dude is just mistaken or off. I mean, that last slide with Chris Spencer talking to me about we just made that up. Now we see this guy's modus operandi, and we know how he acts, which kind of leads me to suspect what's on the rest of his channel. I didn't really explore his other types of videos and see how much BS is to that stuff. Maybe he's just BSing about Bigfoot stuff. Maybe he's getting a laugh out of it. Maybe he's doing it to get attention for himself. Right. I don't know. But the majority of people on both sides of the argument, regardless, know the fact that, when he turns around and says Meldrum is backing up the study and Haskell Hart is backing up the study, they know in their heart of hearts that he's not telling the truth there either. And I don't care if, people that are Melba supporters, that don't want to admit that this guy is lying. But deep down they know he is. And unfortunately, I would hate to be that kind of person, knowing that that's a lie, but promoting it because it's for your cause. And when you start promoting a lie for your cause, what kind of cause is it really?
Well, I think he's made a video for entertainment purposes, and he had a set goal of what he wanted his video to do and say. And unfortunately, the quotes that he made up, people did not say that. You can't do that. You can't shape reality into fantasy.
Right.
When you're talking about real people. Now, like I said earlier, if he was going to make up the quotes, he should have made up the people. Just like he could have been like Bigfoot Ballyhoo, made up.
Yeah, about Ballyhoo made up.
Yeah.
Great point. I mean, Ballyhoo made up the ESP team, the Emery Sachs Saxon and Parch Hill team, and
Bill
two of the three of them.
Saxon,
Yeah.
Hank Park.
And that was probably one of the greatest investigations ever, thanks to Texla Research down there. And they went out and they went to the stockade to interview the actual guys that she was using pictures of, and found out their real names, and then she changed all the pictures. Because if you look at the first, but you know what, you can't escape it, because if you look at the website, you'll see pictures of the old crew, and then pictures of the crew she changed after we came out and exposed it.
Yeah.
But
the picture of, was it Hank the Bigfoot, or no? What was the
Big
Bigfoot?
Big Clyde.
Big Clyde. Yes, he was straight off of a reversed image from Sasquatch: The Legend of Bigfoot.
Right, and coincidentally, at the stockade there, they had a bull named Big Jake.
Oh man, that's funny. But yeah, that's a creative mind.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with having a creative mind, and it's great.
And in the scope of the Bigfoot world, it wasn't a big deal when she originally came out, but I'm glad we laid the groundwork for that, because many years later she came out with the Miller doc.
Right.
And that picked up steam, and that was quickly kiboshed.
Yeah.
By just, finding out the two loggers that supposedly had done this, finding out the real doctor involved. He wasn't even a doctor; he was a forester, right. And actually, right. And that was some great work that I did with that young lady out in the Kitsap Peninsula in Washington there, right. Who had kind of found the right guy, but she wasn't sure, and I kind of clarified that for her, and started putting everything together in a dossier. And sometimes, there's different levels of investigations. I mean, even when, I work for companies doing insurance investigations, we had analysts, and they would data scour, and they would send us the data. It was our job to take that data, say, hey, I think I found something here, and I would take it. And what you would do is take that computer data and match it along with your real-time boots on the ground type of investigation and data, and then you can develop a dossier. A lot of people think that investigators solve crimes. No, or solve issues. No, we paint the picture based on intelligence, and then we present that to whoever, either an adjuster or a claims manager, or to an assistant district attorney or a district attorney, or to science, or to whomever.
Lori said, okay, Granny's going to make her own Bigfoot show on YouTube.
Amen. I'll watch it. I don't know if Lori can actually see. There's Tanner Squatch back there. And make sure he's always in the shot with me.
Oh yeah.
So
don't ask me. I'm not wearing my glasses. Yeah. Reading glasses are getting to be a necessity anymore. Yep. I have to go get my eyes checked out and get a regular pair. I hate to do that, but
I'm afraid to get glasses. I'll end up looking at myself in the mirror with glasses. I might
Well, the problem with, don't get me wrong. Okay, my sons wore glasses for years, and Jared had the surgery to where he didn't have to wear glasses anymore.
She MC writes, is he like Sonny Vader? No, his material is not any original. Sonny Vader does original material. He'll send somebody out in a Bigfoot costume, and he'll drive around. Oh, look, I got a Bigfoot on video, or I got a Bigfoot on video. This guy is just taking the topic and misquoting people purposely, and then purposely lying about what they said. That'd be like saying, the president came out today and declared Bigfoot real. Right? It's just as a blatant lie as he did with Chris Spencer, except the believability factor is a little bit different, because that would have been a huge public announcement. Versus,
and then make up a quote, what the president said about Bigfoot.
Yeah, the Bigfoot's real, and oh, look, there's my dog Duke. Anyway.
Bigfoot is real. We've already made him a U.S. citizen, and they are going to be back taxed. They got to pay.
However, dementia and Alzheimer's is a hoax. Anyway.
Whoop.
Hey guys.
Nope. Denied. Nope.
Denied. No, not going there.
Not going.
Okay, do I have any? Jennifer Arnold, thanks for the comment. She asked, and hello, Jennifer. Do you have any thoughts on the study being done by Darby Orcutt at North Carolina State? Well, I think it's a real good. We've had Dr. Darby Orcutt on the show, and his background as a scientist is an organizational scientist.
Yes.
So he is collecting the samples in the prescribed manner that a geneticist has instructed him to do such. And depending on the types of evidence, depends on, if he needs to get a forensic scientist involved versus just a geneticist versus, and then once that DNA comes out, then it may go to an anthropologist and another geneticist and a primatologist to, kind of to look at the data if one should come up. I think, since it's sponsored by a college, and since it's free, I think that leaves a lot of the biases out of the thing, and it'd be very interesting to see. It'd be very interesting to see what the results will be. Obviously, I don't know if they have a time frame, but what a beautiful thing they're doing is not only that when they do the study, the results are yours. They tell you, okay, this is the results. They're yours to do what you need to do with it. Here it is.
Legitimate samples sent to be tested. And if it's Bigfoot, hey, you win.
And the beautiful thing about that is that there's no end goal. There's no goal to it other than just determining what these pieces of DNA are. And then we'll figure it out from there. It's simple science. And I've always said that about the Ketchum study, that it was a project where the evidence was crafted to base a hypothesis, not the other way around. Yeah. The evidence is crafted to base your hypotheses on, not the other way around.
I think that's fair.
So that's what I think of that project. It's a good idea.
And you never know. I mean, what's proving Bigfoot DNA real to exist? What's it worth? I don't know.
And then the biggest hypotheses, wasn't he Greek? Yes, he created the hypothecary. Anyway, I think you're thinking of Hippocrates, not hypotheses.
I think that's right. Hippocrates. That's why the doctors have to take the Hippocratic oath. Do no harm.
Where's Boris today? We haven't heard of Gurney Goo today. Gurney Goo. Boris, we know you're going to watch this on replay. So hello, Boris.
That's right. Trackway.
Yep. Yeah, and that to not only C1 but C2. It's very humbling. Very humbling.
Pat's got trick questions there.
How many different animals did Moses put on the ark?
Sneaky.
Damn shame about the unicorns going overboard, though.
Oh, Lori's got him. Oh, man.
But very interesting, all this, where it comes in. And, you know, like I said, this is probably one of the more deep thinking shows we've had in a while. After we got done with this, the discussions we've had are just been phenomenal. You know, there haven't been any great videos that have come out this year per se. And I did know that Phil Poling, thank you, Lori.
Oh, Lori.
Thank you.
So much. We appreciate that. $2 super sticker from Lori Gibbs. Thank you, Lori.
I know Phil Poling, we talked about that video from Canada a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. And, you know, Phil Poling, you know, posed a lot of questions about, well, why did he pull over and get out of the car and, you know, all this other stuff. Well, the unfortunate thing about all that is it's a semantical type of argument. The whole film is semantical. It's unknown. It could be a person in a costume. It may not be. You know, why did he stop filming? Well, it walked into the woods, and maybe because he didn't see. I mean, for every semantical question, well, why did you pull over and get out of your car? Because it's kind of hard to shoot over my back through the back window when there's people in my car, and you know, you get the car in the way and everything like that. That's why I got out of the car. Well, why did you stop? Why did you stop filming? Well, I stopped filming because it walked into the woods, and I'm thinking, well, now I don't see it. I better get out of here. You know, there's a number of so for every argument where you can criticize that, and I thought of the same arguments, but they all have an answer, or they could all have a logical or a credible rebuttal. So when you look at certain pieces of evidence like that, you know, unfortunately, there was no follow-up ever done on this or any of it. So you kind of got to shrug your shoulders and go, I just don't know about this. It looks decent, but it may not be. I just don't know. But
well, some new stuff has come out, Steve, the last few days.
Yes.
There's a new hominid coming out. Well, it's theorized, called let me find him. Now, this has come from the Chinese Academy of Sciences and the University of Hawaii. Suggests there may be a new species called Homo juliensis. And this is going, I think that breaks down to be the large head people or something.
So, hold on. Poncho Zor said, now I'm back. I just cannot take one event from a person's life and use that as a basis to discount that person. Bigfoot researchers are the reason there's so much division. No, wrong, Poncho. The reason why there's so much division in the Bigfoot research is because nobody's adhering to a set of guidelines. Nobody is going through a specific process, either scientific, investigatory, or anything like that. That's the problem. So when I see somebody trying to say these stick breaks are all Bigfoot when there's no other Bigfoot evidence, there's an issue with that, right? And am I taking one event from a person's life? No. That's about motive. I'm talking about facts. Facts is that every single case that I've looked at Pilates, like the guy from Colorado that started taking his clothes off, from the guy at Lily Pond, from the missing guy in Schuylerville, New York, which are the three cases I'm talking about. Two are cases of hypothermia. One is a case of potentially homicide. Maybe he had a heart attack out in the wood line or something like that and dropped. They never found him too. There's a lot of more credible explanations than he was just disappeared. Because you know what will end up happening is 20, 30 years later, people will find him. And the basis of hypothermia, I have a little bit of background in that since I was trained in ice rescue, which, you know, a whole day was dedicated to hypothermia, its behaviors, its reactions, and how it's acts. So I'm not speaking out of turn here. I'm speaking like that's hypothermia. I don't care what Pilates says. That's hypothermia. That's what I'm getting on that. But as far as Bigfoot researchers being divided, it's because there's no process. When you have division, that's why you go to a specific investigatory division. They train you how they want their investigations done, so everybody's on the same page every single time. When you start deviating from that, that's when mistakes happen, and that's when problems happen, right?
Well, there's a lot of people believe different things.
I don't understand why people can't change. I have no idea what has to do with any argument here.
Well, you have some people that believe differently than other. Like I would say, Steve and I are both pretty much in the biological camp. We think Bigfoot is a living, breathing, biological creature, just like any other animal or primate on the planet.
Right.
And there are some people that tend to believe that Bigfoot is a spirit or some kind of fourth dimensional thing that or whatever.
The problem is why are researchers divided? Do you think that's a Bigfoot problem? It's a world problem.
Yeah.
Every community you go to, there are people that are divided.
Yeah.
Right? When people say they believe, well, I believe Bigfoot is an alien. Oh, I'm out. Time. Right? Based on what evidence? Well, there was a few people that said this. That's your only evidence. Right? I'm sorry. You're entitled to your belief. But don't cut the folks that say they're not down because there's good evidence that Bigfoot's not an alien. Right? There's a lot of scientific theory to why Bigfoot's not an alien. There's a lot of scientific theory to why Bigfoot is not a portal jumper or a shapeshifter or any of that.
I would like to see aliens. That would be cool.
Right.
I know there's the UAF or UAP things they got, which we used to call UFOs. I would like to know if those are from like another world or something. That would be cool. Just because we're seeing things that we can't explain in the air doesn't mean they're from another world.
Like I said, I'm a facts and science guy.
Mm.
You have facts and right. Science. I'm sorry. I appreciate it. I appreciate the thoughts. I appreciate the opinions, but they are just that. And if I have, well, I agree, Pat. Who says they're not abducting them to study? Exactly. That may be funny, but that's true. That's one of my arguments to that. That okay, if we say the small handful of people that said they saw a Bigfoot get off of a spaceship or a UFO or a craft, provided those alien craft are even of alien origin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe alien not being not us. Okay, I get that. But yeah, that's a great point. Is that who says they're not studying them? Because but has anybody ever heard of a story of a chimp being abducted by a UFO? It's only been cattle for some strange reason. I don't know.
Well,
do I believe people have had experiences that they can't explain as a result of seeing a Sasquatch? Yeah. A lot happens. PTSD, post-traumatic regression, the mind not cataloging something to cause all those. Yeah, absolutely. Read the psychology of Bigfoot. You'll understand the science behind that. And it goes into it quite deeply, does it not, Chris?
Yeah, it's pretty detailed on the subject, and really detailed on the brain, which parts of the brain cause different things. But just seeing a Bigfoot, it does different things to different people.
Yep.
Because you're viewing something that is not supposed to exist, and then what does your mind do when you see something that is not supposed to exist? Well, it's trying to relate it to something else. And if it can't relate it to something else, it might just blank out totally. That's why, maybe some of the reports where the people say, I saw it and then it just disappeared. Well, maybe it didn't really disappear. Maybe their mind just shut off everything after that moment, whoops, no more. We can't be.
Yeah.
Can't handle this. this does not register in our version of reality. So we're just going to check out. But I think that PTSD, I really believe that's a common issue.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, people start seeing Bigfoot in photos, like, oh,
right.
After they have a legitimate sighting. I've seen that firsthand.
Yeah.
We had this woman had a very credible sighting, Mary, out in Warren County, very credible sighting. And then about a month later, I was taking a picture on the side of the road, and I got a Bigfoot. When I look at it, I go, "It's not a Bigfoot." Right. And
like a Bigfoot is around every corner.
And this is the point. Then they went to the point of blowing the picture up at a professional studio to where it was like the size of half a wall.
Wow.
Okay.
Dedication.
Ryan Reading often gets labeled as a hoaxer, and not at all. And I explained that to Darren from the MABRC, who was at odds for him many years, saying, "Oh, you're hoaxing. He's not hoaxing. He truly believes what he was telling you." But the problem was he was suffering from PTSD of having a Bigfoot sighting.
Yeah.
Right. So everything on his trail cameras that he couldn't explain, every movement, every time it triggered, that was a Bigfoot event.
Right.
Right. Good night, Stephen. Good to see you. To him, that was a Bigfoot event. And eventually I got, luckily I got to see Ryan at least once a year, and I got to talk to him quite a bit on Messenger over the phone. We had hours worth of talking, and, now he's over that and he's not doing that anymore.
Right.
And he was starting to confuse the woo into the Bigfoot world. And I made him realize that he had two separate life events going on at the time. So, and plus he was going through the stressor of having a sick father who eventually passed away, and just so much on him that you can understand where somebody starts going down that rabbit hole.
Well, you're walking out in the woods, minding your own business, doing a nature hike, and then you walk around this tree or a bend in the trail, and there's standing a 7 or 8 foot tall hairy creature that was not supposed to exist in your mind just a second before that. That's going to mess with a lot of people. And so now, all right, they've seen Bigfoot. Now they know Bigfoot exists.
Let me Poncho, if Poncho likes Missing 411 and he likes the show, then so be it. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I like Missing 411.
But you want to come here, you want to hear my opinions on it and my, some of the facts behind it, because I've done Bigfoot investigations at Lily Pond. I was there 4 months after that guy went missing on an Ezra expedition. Right. And yeah, the area is very dark, swampy. You can get turned around there in a lot, quite quickly. And I've known people who have talked to the family of the missing man. So take it for what you may. So that's why I have, some of my reservations. Does he make some interesting points on other cases that are less so explainable? Yeah. I won't take him away. I won't take that away from him. But some of the local stuff, I kind of, you kind of give that local, like, right.
I like the Missing 411 series. It's just it was injected with a little woo to make it more marketable, but
a little more palatable. Well, Hollywood. It all goes down to Hollywood. No matter where we call it Hollywood. It's not necessarily Hollywood, because a lot of these, but what it comes down to is people don't want to see people running around the woods and finding nothing.
Right.
People don't want to see people debunking things. I've learned that very true quickly too.
Exactly.
Right. In my own NatGeo special, The Truth Behind the Loch Ness Monster, I debunked a photo this guy brought. I actually, and you can look at my old blog about it. It's called The Preston Photo.
Yep.
I recreated that photo. It was a reflection of the sun off a copper roof from across the pond. And the scientists, they decided they had instead of putting my review on there saying, yes, this is that, this is this, because they wanted me or they needed me to be the pro Loch Ness guy. Even though what I said on the show wasn't really pro Loch Ness, it was kind of like, well, we need to do more research on this, basically.
It was pro private investigative work.
Right.
That's what it was.
Right.
You debunked it. But them showing that would not have furthered the watchability of the program. So they wanted to change it up a little bit and add something different in there. Which, they got to be creative. You got to make something that's watchable, which that was great, man. I loved it. I loved NatGeo Special Loch Ness. That was great.
Yeah.
One of my all-time
but the ending is what got me a little torqued about it. And I understood why they did it, and they explained to me why they did it. But they had this scientist come on and say, well, I don't see any reason why there would be a reflection from the sun. That's because Preston's photo, he zoomed in on it a little bit to keep that house out of frame.
Yes, of course. Right. You don't want to see that house behind it. Yeah. Trackway. Finding the trackway. It says squatching is actually very boring. Well, 99.9% of the time, yes.
Maybe even more. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, maybe even more than that, because you're out in the woods.
99.95.
Yeah, you're walking around and, you don't see any new evidence. You don't see a Bigfoot around the next bend. And it's just, you spend a day walking in nature and trekking, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's good. But you're not going to find, that's why a lot of the YouTube channels, and I'm not going to mention any names, but those guys have a new Bigfoot.
Tessa just showed up. Hello, the Bat Mom. How are you?
Bat Mom. Yeah, those guys that have a new Bigfoot video every day.
Right.
I'm not too sure about that.
Right. Yeah, go squatching naked won't be boring. I believe there was actually a show called Naked and Afraid that did that. I tell you what, if I was naked, people be afraid.
Well, yeah, that was a.
I may have said this before, but when I die, I'm going to donate my body to science fiction.
That Naked and Afraid show, yeah, I watched that some. They did a couple episodes in Africa, and I don't remember what country in Africa, but it was where they had lions and stuff, and I would not have been comfortable. No, Bat Mom.
And of course, yeah, your wife already donated your body. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, I've actually had to meet a couple of people from Naked Afraid. I met Trent, and of course, I met Melanie. And unfortunately, a few years ago, Melanie passed away.
Yeah.
Very sad story behind that. She was a vet and was suffering from PTSD because of that.
Right.
And it haunted her up until, very tragic, very sad.
When you serve your country, some people see a lot worse things than others.
And, and what a person she was, actually, when things were closing up, she went to every table and handed everybody an autographed picture.
Yeah. Well, that was nice.
And I got that up on my wall right next to my Trapper picture from me and Trapper from, and even though we know that show isn't real, right?
Yeah. But it's a great show. Yeah, very entertaining.
And you know what? I was sitting next to it. I hung out with Wild Bill for a few days over here in Ohio. And
fun guy.
And I met, I saw Jeff and Jeffro and Willie. I saw them in Pennsylvania a month later.
Yeah.
And we'll be seeing them all again this year at Pennsylvania.
And they got a great show, man. It's a great show. It was very entertaining.
And for those who also know too, there is going to be a Pennsylvania Bigfoot camping adventure this year as well. So that'll be Tennessee Cherokee snuck in the door.
Cherokee, well,
everybody's sneaking in late, which just keeps us going. Few people leave, few people come in. Ooh, my wire got caught. But yeah, ooh, I'm gonna end up breaking something up here real soon. Yeah, I mean, with this phenomenon, you're gonna find people that, as you do with everything, you're gonna find people that just can't tell the truth. I'll never forget when I was a paramedic supervisor way back in the day. We had this guy. We'll call him, for the sake of things, we'll call him Joe. Joe couldn't tell the truth about anything. Joe kept making claims that, he owns a body shop or a detailing shop like that.
Yeah.
Well, where's the body? Where is it? And he would never give you the exact address. It never existed.
Yeah.
And he would always talk about, I got problems with this. And he'd talk for hours about the staff problems he has, or problems with this, problems with that, suppliers, customers.
Right.
Well, where's your shop? I love to get my car detailed. Well, And then, hang on, I got to take a phone call, and off he went.
Yeah.
Right. And this went on for I think he worked for us for a couple of years. And it's like everybody just looked and shook their head, and we knew because he worked for the other ambulance company. And when they hired him, I mean, he was a body to fill a slot.
Right.
He could fill out the paperwork. He could be honest with the paperwork at work. Good to go. Yeah, as an EMT. Sounds like a Giuseppe. And so you get those type of people. And this cat, maybe that guy that just, I'm truthful about this and that, but on this thing, I'm just going to, have to really break down other videos. And he's not really worth my bother to do that. It's just the fact that so many people had commented on this guy that, kind of forced me to make a stand on it. And I saw it, and was I appalled? Yeah, because he's putting words in people's mouth that have reputations.
Right.
Dr. Haskell Art, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, the other veterinarian there, Dr. Irina there,
Chris,
Chris Spencer, So, it becomes Tennessee Cherokee. Did you ever see the movie Mother Jugs and Speed?
I have.
Oh my God, that was the ambulance show to watch, or the movie to watch. When it came to the fire department side of things, it was Emergency, the TV show Emergency, and then Backdraft came out in the 90s. Or very early 90s, and that was the rage. Maybe it was late 80s. But that was the big
Mother Jugs and Speed. That was like in the 70s, wasn't it? It's like an old flick.
$1976. Mother Jugs and Speed.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Yep.
Well, those were cool drive-in movies, though, back then.
Raquel Welch, Harvey Keitel, Bill Cosby, Larry Hagman. Yeah. So those are the big three in there.
Yeah, it's been so long. I might end up watching that tonight.
So here we go. It's time. Towards the end of the show, we always tend to get a little off topic. Right. Patrick Collins wrote Adam 12. That's right.
Yeah.
Martin Milner and Kent McCord were the actors. That I remember. That's how much that show was watched in my neighborhood. Of course, Emergency, Adam 12, and Dragnet were all, what's his name? Jack Webb Productions. That's why a lot of times on Dragnet, you would see the future stars of Emergency or the future characters of Emergency or Adam 12 on there. Which is kind of interesting. I don't know if you ever remember that.
Pat says, what was the movie with Clint Eastwood that had a Sasquatch that gave everyone the finger? I think that was Clyde. He was in a ring.
Every Which Way But Loose, Every Which Way You Can.
Any which way you can. Every which way but loose and any which way you can. I went to the drive-in and saw both of those.
And then there was that real dog, Bronco Billy. That was another Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, that was those were drive-in movies.
What was the name of that Dennis Leary show? Let's see.
Rescue Me.
That's it. Rescue Me.
Yeah, Jay got it.
Yep.
Oh man.
Yeah. So yeah, there were a lot of different. I don't know if Rescue Me ever caught on with the fire crews. I didn't recall anybody really talking about it because it was more drama than.
I don't know. I didn't follow that one very good. I watched a few episodes and.
Truthfully, back in the day, the shows that I followed were, The Shield, which was an excellent show. The Sopranos. Battlestar Galactica, the one with James Edward Olmos, that was phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Then eventually Sons of Anarchy. Streets of San Francisco, Carl Malden and Michael Douglas. See, that's how good I am.
Wow.
So yeah, little movie trivia timer. Splash, Daryl Hannah, Tom Hanks.
Oh yeah.
No, somebody just wrote, didn't ask about that movie, but I never watched it. I remember you made a big splash. That's why we had splash. So Bad Mom asked, do you have to go to school to learn and be a private investigator? Well, each state has a different set of regulations. In New York State, you have to do a certain type of investigation for 3 years, either serving under somebody that's a private investigator or doing it as a profession, like a detective who's been a detective for 3 years can become a private investigator. However, a patrolman who does 18 years of service cannot become a private investigator. So it depends on your state. Usually I would look at the Department of Licensing, see what the requirements are, but usually college, of course, is not needed. In New York State, you have to have 3 years apprenticeship. You have to come up with a $10,000 bond, which isn't that expensive. It's only a couple $100 for the 2-year term. And then you have to pass a test. And then you have to go through all your background checks and fingerprint and all that. Believe it or not, for a first-time private investigation license, you're talking $25 to take the test. You're talking, in New York State, it's $425 for the license, plus another $89 to be fingerprinted and checked. So it's very expensive in New York. New York is the second most expensive state next to California when it comes to becoming a licensed private investigator. So.
Oh, yeah, Mick. Yes, I remember Bigfoot and Wild Boy came on Saturdays. Every Saturday, going to watch Bigfoot and Wild Boy.
Well, Poncho, that's interesting to me. Barbara, Missouri, it's 2,000 hours as an apprentice. Yeah, that's 40 hours a week. It's about a year. Yeah. Yeah, in New York, though, you got to be full-time, 40 hours a week or more to be for 3 years. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's why they don't call it a private eye. Interesting fact.
Well, we have We have devolved into
there's my private eye.
question about TV shows.
Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna get the flock out of here. And but I appreciate everybody for coming in tonight. And I gotta say, you know, is what it is with this dude. But buyer beware. Buyer caveat emptor. Buyer beware.
For entertainment purposes only, not for informational purposes.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't even say, how can you be entertained by using real people and putting words in their mouth?
Well,
I'm not, I wouldn't even say that's entertainment. People can go to the Isdal channel. I don't care how to hunt. People can go to, you know, Sasquatch Chronicle. They want to be entertained, you know, for stories. People can go to a number of other podcasts. But at least they're not taking, and I'll give them credit, they're not putting words into people's mouths like this dude is. Yeah. So.
Grasshopper says Humphrey Bogart was the best private eye. I agree. Maltese Falcon, the best.
Yep. Oh, late to the show, John, and we're just wrapping it up, too. Well, hello, John. Good to see you.
Yeah, man. We appreciate you coming in. We've been talking about TV shows and movies the last 15 minutes, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
it's something we all enjoy, you know.
Right. It's nice to talk. You know, like I said, this is a Bigfoot show, but we can go off topic and enjoy ourselves. That's what the YouTube community is about. It's about sharing our personal experiences, getting to know us. So now you know some more things about us. What kind of
we covered the topic tonight, and now we're talking a little bit with the audience and just getting a little back and forth. And that's what I love, because we got the greatest audience in all of Bigfoot shows, man.
So, all right, folks, we will be back Wednesday night this week. We took last Wednesday off. I just wanted to give Chris a little extra few days off, and I was kind of beat too from work. So I figured out what the heck, I need a day off from doing the show. And Chris, I'm sure, appreciated the extra day too. So
yeah.
And so we will be back here Wednesday night with an hour-long show. Maybe we'll try to talk people, and maybe we'll do the goal thing again. See if some people can talk us into doing a 2-hour show on Wednesday, depending on our topic. So, but all right, folks. Chris, do your thing.
I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and it's been an honor and a pleasure and privilege to have you and to be here with you. Great discussion tonight. Thanks, guys. If it's your first time watching, first time in the chat, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, do all that stuff. It doesn't cost anything. And that helps us with the YouTube algorithm. And hey, you guys listen over on a podcast, get over to the YouTube channel.
Hey, there's 47, 48 people right now in chat. Please hit the thumbs up on this video on the way out, please. That would much be appreciated.
That'll help. And, you guys that listen on the podcast, come on over to the youtube.com/SquatchDTV and check out your project.
Yep. And if you like what you see on this, share it with some friends. Get some more people to hop on the Squatch-D train here. And, folks, again, I thank everybody for being here tonight. You are the greatest audience. We love you all. And, we may have different opinions on different things, but that matters none. We're all friends here. So all good with me.
Great.
So, especially, I know a little tough on you tonight, Poncho. Love you, man. So don't feel that I was picking on you. I hope you don't. Nothing here is personal. We always have a little fun, and I'm just glad you guys are all here to hear the good word about Bigfoot rather than trying to parse some of the BS from the BF. So, anyway, everybody, God bless. Have a great week. We'll see you all Wednesday night right here on Squatch-D TV, 9 p.m. Eastern. Catch you all in a bit. Peace out.
We thank you for being here with us on Squatch-D TV. If you haven't taken the time yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And oh yes, hit that notification bell too. We don't want you to miss anything. If you really like our content, you should consider becoming a member. And it's really inexpensive and a great way to support not only the show, but honest Bigfoot research. Everyone have a great week. Be safe and God bless. We will see you all here next time on Squatch-D TV. Keep on squatching.